don't believe the box that they put you in. But life is so short that you can't waste even a day subscribing to what someone thinks you can do versus knowing what you can do. And that's like the switch. It's like the switch in your head. If you can get to a place where you can act on that in the next hour after we're done speaking, I guarantee you it's a domino.
If Jesus was on the cross, you would probably kneel him. If he wept holy water, you would probably sell it. If he confided sacred teachings, you would probably tell it. Bunch of bullshit is I ain't mad, but I just smell it. Went well to the max, so unfortunate. Body well toned, looking like porcelain. She chose up, I ain't forced her hand, but we slide us like Santa Claus again. Paid the cost to be the boss and the cost to jam. Opportunity was lost, but I caught him again. It's a spiritual war and I'm fighting to win. Not like to pretend, I speak on pretense. Lying be friend. I came to preach the truth to the youth, I'm tying it in. If you ride and get in, we sliding again. Man, we sliding again. Man, we sliding again. Man, we sliding again. We used to roll around with nowhere to go, like, hey man, where's the hoes? But now it ain't a drill no more. We can't grow, depending on our youth, and we still undeveloped. Walk around blind, nobody tell us. If he was on the cross, you would probably kneel him. If he wept holy water, you would probably sell it. If he confided sacred teachers, you would probably tell it. Bunch of bullshitters, I ain't mad, but I just smell it. Instead of getting even, man, I'm compelling. And we sliding again. And we sliding again. And we sliding again. And we sliding again. And we sliding again.
Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. This is the Hood Mystic, representing hoodmystic.com, columbianexchange.com, White Rabbit Psychedelics, whiterabbitsite.com. Today, we're going to be talking about the Magician. This card has a lot of symbolism attached to it, but of course, with the symbolism, there's a lot of gnosis. There's a lot of deeper understanding. These next videos that I'm going to be doing, I'm going through each and every tarot card in an in-depth way, whether we're dealing with the numerology, whether we're dealing with the Hebrew alphabet, the Kabbalah, the deities, the energies, the elements, whatever is associated with each card. These videos will kind of do more of like a deep dive. And the reason I'm doing these videos is because I just plan to progress more and more into spiritual science, spiritual definition, and of course, spiritual mastery. I think that I know that, the general sense of spirituality is just, if I keep my fingers crossed and everything will just kind of work out. And that's why, we be out here looking crazy because we have no structure and we have no science. So I did do like a basic layout and a spiritual being having a human experience, Chakra Nova, Astrology Explained. What those titles try to do is just give people a basic fundamental understanding as we dive deeper into occult teachings, metaphysics. So what you are taking part of is my next book, which will be a book on the tarot and just the things that we're talking about. If you want to take part in the book before it comes out for $5 a month, you can join my Substack. And I've made a decision, like I'll give like little snippets for free. But if you want the full dialogue, like if it means something to you, then that'll be $5 a month on my Substack. And like I said, every single tarot card is going to be deep dive throughout the year. Not throughout the year. I plan to be done with this by the summertime. because after the summertime, we're going to do some more deeper astrology things, which will go through each and every nakshatra. But then it's a lot of stuff that I want to do on my channel with my literature, but it's all in the hopes of building a strong sense of spiritual science, right? Got a few people on the live right now, and if you're watching this video post live, comment how important it is to know the alphabet. Is it very important, one, to know the alphabet, or two, not important at all? Peace to the tribe. Thank you guys for joining me. Today we will be talking about the tarot card, the Magician, in the realms of SpiritVerse. I plan to be doing a lot more content, being a lot more active in my business, in my life, in my family, in my relationships. But at the same time, with that being said, the next video that I will be doing will be the live readings. I just had to get this video off my chest. Okay, the alphabet is very important to learn. Okay, so what we're going to discuss is the alphabet, right? So let's break those words down. We have alpha, and then we have bet, or we have the Hebrew letters aleph, which then goes into the Greek word alpha, right? So you have aleph, alpha, and then you have the Hebrew word Beth, or bet, right? So alpha, bet. So even though there are multiple letters within the alphabet, the crux of the understanding of alphabet is A and B, you know, blood type A, blood type B, and things of that nature. So what we're discussing is the fundamentals of spiritual science and spiritual knowledge when you deep dive into the tarot. Right, I've been here before and I'm doubling back again, because when you are in this, when you have the heart of spirituality, there's never enough information, even more so like words and letters and reading books. You know, once you got the down packs of the phonetics and the letters, now you could read any book placed before you, right? Because you know the alphabet. What I'm saying is, by the end of this series, by the getting a deeper understanding of the Hebrew letters in relation to the tarot card, you will be able to read the spiritual world, right? Because there's a fundamental truth within understanding Hebrew letters, is that these letters speak directly to your soul. This is why in Spain, right, in Mexico, in America, even though the letters are arranged differently, there are letters nonetheless, unless you're talking about like Russian language or Chinese language, which don't use phonetics, and they have a whole different understanding of how to spell, right? But let's look at the Magician real quick. The Magician got his shit together, right? He got on his robe, he got on his garb, and he's standing in front of a table, that table representing earth, and he has his wand representing fire. He also has his cup representing emotion, and he has his swords representing words or mental. And if you look in the left corner, I don't have a pointer, but you can start to see a disc, so that represents earth as well. So what this saying is, he has his shit together, right? He's not, his cups is there, his swords is there, his wand is there, his disc is there. So I said I didn't want to do a long video, but y'all know how I give it up. The reality of this shit is, when you come to the spiritual world without your shit together, right, you are not in the realms of the Magician. So in order to have your shit together, you have to start over, right? Because usually our cups is overfilled, our swords is dull, our wands haven't been charged, and our money is funny. Which is a double entendre and a kind of fuss up with the whole deal, because a lot of people come to spirituality to improve their shit, right? When the reality of the magician, the opening phases of the spiritual path working is that you have to have your shit together. So as much as I'm talking about mental health, as much as I'm talking about understanding relationships, because relationships tend to throw you off, these things generally block the spiritual development and the spiritual path. So, as much as you want to, shoot fireballs out of your ass and things of that nature, have a magical pussy portal and things of that nature, you might have to work on some mental health, work on some triggers, work on some emotional barriers, emotional intelligence, unconditional love, financial literacy, and things of that nature. And if these things seem overwhelming, there's usually immaturity, right? So second point is maturity, because mature adults, they handle a lot of shit, right? Children get overwhelmed and get depressed and anxiety and things of that nature. But the reality is, right, there are children that used to be adults. Think about when you are in a rural state. The 7-year-olds and the 8-year-olds, they had to go to the river to get water, right? To make sure the family had water. Like, these children had responsibilities. It's kind of cross-cultured and kind of messed up, right? Because in this society, we don't try to teach our children real shit about real life. We try to coddle and enable so we can feel good about ourselves, which then the vicious cycle kind of repeats itself. So the magician is a hard worker. The magician is not a person that is like, walking into the magical profession like, oh, this shit is easy, this shit is simple, right? Even the deeper understandings of, initiation and mystery schools is that it's not for everybody. Right? Is 100 people that's on the college campus, 10 of them is in the sorority, 2 out of those 10 is in the boule. 1 out of 10 is in the Illuminati, right? So 1 out of 100 is in the Illuminati. So just because you're in college don't mean that you're going to be initiated into sacred sciences. The reality of us on YouTube and getting it how we live, we really have to go within ourselves to develop a sense of initiation. Unless you are initiated into the Boule or Illuminati or, Skull and Bones, and shout out to you, or Freemason or Knights Templar, things of that nature. I never had that opportunity. I've only had my soul to work with. So that's a deeper understanding. So let's deal with the science of the magician. Right here is a picture of Ophiuchus. And Ophiuchus is a man that is in the sky that is holding 2 snakes, right? And these snakes are symbolic, right? Everything within the Magician Tarot card, everything that I'm going to lay out within this video is symbolic. And it's symbolic to a specific thing of channeling your soul and communicating through into your soul, but not in a space where it doesn't create a level of genius, right? Is one thing to think, oh yes, I am channeling my soul. I am the magician. I'm a spiritual person. Okay, what can you do? Well, I can tell you how spiritual I am, right? That doesn't cut it. The reality of the magician is that they are able to manifest. They know how to manifest. They know how to take nothing and make it something. They know how to project themselves into the stars. And when we talk about the magician and when we talk about the fool, we are talking about real people. We're talking about me, we're talking about you, and we're talking about spiritual development. So this is for people who have been on the path for a very long time, right? Generally, if you're just coming into spirituality, you may think you want to be the magician, but the problem is you're too concerned with your human needs. You don't see yourself as ophiuchus. You don't see yourself as projected into the sky. And ophiuchus is not this white man, let's be clear. Ophiuchus and no disrespect to white men in general, I'm just saying that's not the actual factual of the personification of the energy. The reality of Ophiuchus represents the enlightened, divine, melanated, masculine, and feminine energy. Because Ophiuchus sits on top of Scorpio, right? What does Scorpio represent? Scorpio represents the sexual organs, more clearly the womb. So if Ophiuchus is a masculine energy, Scorpio is a feminine energy, and these energies intertwine. These energies intertwine, so which makes the snake, or the snake represents the serpent. The serpent represents the Kundalini energy, for which meditation, devotion, focus, time, right, represents the awakening of Kundalini energy. And I said time because generally that is what people do not do, right? What do they say? Time is money, right? What does that mean? That means that the more time you spend at something, the more that it rewards you. So when you talk about Kundalini, when you talk about activating your Kundalini, when you talk about activating your chakras, the problem or the solution is when you go at it without a proper time frame of what you're going to, how long is it going to take for you to progress through such things. Some things take years, right? When I'm doing a reading and we're referencing certain developments, we're generally talking about 9 months plus. Because if I'm incepting an idea, right? Or if you're incepting an idea, if you come to an agreement of something that represents a potential within your vortex and you're walking towards it, the surety is not in it happening in a brief moment of time. That's not the surety. The surety is over a long period of time, like 9 months, right? Because generally, when you're having sex, that day after, right, which they kill us with the plan B, right? So many people take plan B, they don't even need to take it because generally you're not going to get pregnant unless you're ovulating. But if you're just going to do it just because you just had raw sex and you don't want to have a baby, then you're taking a plan B. That's kind of crazy, right? But this is all in the space of not knowing the process of reproduction, right? But what is reproduction in the spiritual sense? It is production. What is production in the mundane sense? It is manifestation. So the same, now this is very key to understanding Kundalini and sexual energy. And if you have your minds open and if you can like really see this with your mind's eye, then you can like really get down with the get down when it comes to spiritual development. The same energy that it takes to produce a child is the same energy that you use to awaken Kundalini. So to reproduce, right, is a secondary act, right? If I'm a reset, that means it's been set before and now I got to reset it. To reproduce means that there's already a production process, right? So what is sex? Sex is like the landfill of humanity, right? Sex is like the process that is got a hidden like you like it's the wrong way of diverting your energy. Like the easiest way that I can explain sex without gnosis or sex without spirituality is like drooling as an adult, right? Even though you drooled as a child, right? Because you couldn't help it, you didn't know any better. You were just walking around drooling and shit, right? Some babies don't, right? Some of my older kids drooled, my younger kids didn't for some reason, right? But case by case basis, some children drool, right? I think these COVID babies developed and evolved to the point that they don't drool. That's just a theory that just popped in my head just now. But mind you, by the time a kid gets a certain age, they stop drooling because it's no longer socially acceptable to drool. And even though as a child you might want to drool, you'll learn because you don't want to be that kid that's drooling, you'll stop drooling. Somehow we've never evolved to stop drooling when it comes to sex, meaning that we use sex as a form of pleasure, but not as a ways to awaken Kundalini and activate and move to a space where you become the magician. Because like the simplest, most mundane things in life, you have to learn and apply and experience. So why would spirituality be a deviation from, let's say, building a house or learning your alphabet or learning mathematics? These things, you sat in class for a whole year to get a certain process and formula. And of course, once you have a basis of arithmetic, you can bring that into algebra. Once you have a basis of algebra, you can bring that into trig. Once you have a basis of trig, you can bring it into calculus. So why would you think that you could... Now tell me how much sense that it makes, right? We all seek spiritual powers, right? We all seek spiritual enlightenment, right? So let's look at a master healer. Let's just look at a basic tarot reader as a person that knows calculus. Like, you got to understand, like just because you get a calculus notebook, right? A calculus textbook, right? You never learned ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, but you got a calculus textbook, and because you've seen somebody on YouTube do calculus, and they know how to do calculus, right? Because they learned calculus, and they're just kind of displaying their skills of understanding calculus, and they're charging people for their calculus skills. And you say, man, that looks easy. I can do that shit. Let me get a calculus textbook and repeat what I read out of the calculus textbook. At a certain point, the rubber will meet the road when it comes to spirituality. Because just because people is out here looking spiritual, that don't mean that they know shit for real. What I'm saying is that it takes time to develop into the full. I was once, the craziest part of all this shit is that I was once a little baby sperm. I'm like 38, turning 39 this year. To get to this point, that's 39 years. That's a lot of days, right? To get to this point. But at a certain point, you could say that as a sperm, this moment was within my DNA to come like 39 years from now, this nigga gonna be on a goddamn blue microphone talking about how we're perceiving this moment in time. 39, we're projecting this. So in the middle of this process, you know, he's gonna run across some $40 hoes, right? In the middle of this process, he's gonna be like, you know, making love, and the lace front's gonna fall out. In the middle of this process, he's going to be taking his girlfriends to the wig store, and they're going to be trying out different wigs to see which one look the cutest. But at the end of it all, he'll come into gnosis to realize that, you know, life is much bigger than picking out wigs. All right. All right. I say it all the time. God really loves me. So when we talk about Imhotep, when we talk about Mercury, we talk about inception, and we also talk about reflection. Inception and reflection are your two most powerful tools in recognizing yourself as the magician, which the magician is a pathway to manifestation, which the deepest part of you knows. Your soul knows, right? So the difference between me from being a black and mild freaker, internet dater, no purpose, no progress, no gnosis, no nothing. The difference between that person and this person now is the realization within myself is that my soul knows, and to follow my soul wherever my soul leads me, and to trust that my soul is leading me. For which, if I know for a fact that my soul is leading me, there's a certain level of how I approach life, because it is like there's work to do, right? Your soul wakes you up every day like there's work to do. Sometimes your soul tells you there's work not to do, like you need to rest, right? You need to follow your soul in these processes, these ebbs and these flows, but your soul has given you purpose in life. If you wake up today and you say, well, man, I don't know about this shit, man. I feel bad about myself because I ain't shit, you know. I did some wild shit last night. I did some shit I wasn't proud of last night. I didn't know liquor can make you be that wild. Why do Henny be having you act like that? Like, why does Henny have you behave in that manner? I didn't know that you could be that freaky and that nasty off the Hennessy. But at the same time, right, there is a level of letting that part of you go, connecting to the soul. So once again, when you're dealing with Imhotep, you're dealing with Mercury, you're dealing with ophiuchus, you're dealing with the magician, because you're dealing with a person, right? And I want to stress that because this represents you. Right? If you're listening to this video, this represents you. Within yourself, there is the divine architect. There is the healer, right? There is the astronomer. There is the cosmic reality because the skin, the body, the flesh, the heart, right? Everything a part of your body, the spine. This is alien technology, right? The world. Okay, Hood, what do you mean alien technology? Well, if a person came from another planet to this planet, they would view us as aliens. You dig? So when you study the stars, you got to be studying yourself, because to another person, you are the cosmos. But once again, when you talk about poetry, when you talk about being a poet, you're also talking about manifestation. You're also talking about choosing your words carefully, because as easy as you can say, I ain't shit, because I was going off the Henny last night and I knew I shouldn't have drunk that much Henny. You can start to realize and say to yourself, my soul knows. And what I was trying to say, and I kind of went off left field thinking about the Henny, is that when you know that your soul knows, there's a level of enthusiasm within your everyday experience. There's a level of feeling good, right? It's a real telltale sign when you're talking to your significant other, your children, or the people that you love, right? To say, hey, well, you're not feeling good today. What's the problem, right? You can kiss their ass. You can take them shopping. You can do all of this existential shit, but the reality is that they're not connected to their soul. They don't know that their soul knows. So because their soul doesn't know, they're trying to fill in these holes, right? And there's no holes to fill, because you are a non-physical spiritual being having a human experience. And to wrap your mind around that is also an emotional expression. People always ask me, how are you feeling? Well, every day for me is a good day. And I'm not saying that I don't feel pissed off. The reason that I feel pissed off is because people have yet to look within themselves. Right? That's what pisses me off, right? People have yet to realize the power of their soul, the ability to heal, the ability to operate solely on vision, to operate. So you can't do that initially, instantly. Why can't you initially act on vision initially? Because you wouldn't necessarily know if that vision is manifesting in truth. You can feel it and think it and hope it and wish it to be true. And now you a fucking online scam artist, or you manipulating your baby daddy because you can't afford nowhere else to stay. And he's paying the bills, so you got to put up with his shit. And the whole time, all you had to do is follow your soul. And that would have led you to whatever it is that you need to do. Just look at Tina Turner. She ran away from Ike, right? I don't know why that came in my mind. So the magician, I don't know why that came in my mind. Shout out to Tina Turner and Ike Turner. The magician is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is a solid element. It's a liquid element. It's a fire element, and it also represents air. Mercury rules over Gemini, and it also rules over Virgo, Earth. Mercury is the planet that is closest to the sun, and it deeply affects our Earth solar system due to its retrograde nature. It is never in opposition from the sun. It is either it cannot even get into a level of sextile with the sun or trine with the sun. It can only be conjunct, right? So Mercury has two phases. It has a direct phase and a retrograde phase. The direct phase will be called Promethean, representing the communication between planetary bodies and human consciousness. This is when you move forward in life. Then it has a retrograde period where it allows us to tap into our past lives at a DNA spiritual level. So when you look at the caduceus of Mercury, you're also seeing a DNA. What does that DNA represent? The DNA represents the past, and the DNA represents the future. Your DNA is your coding. Your DNA is what you bring with you from your past life. Your DNA is why you're here today. Your DNA will designate your future plans, for better or for worse, right? And only for better. The problem with certain diseases and cancers and illnesses and sicknesses is when your DNA codes start coding incorrectly due to the diet, due to the emotional imbalance. This is off topic, but it's on topic. Think about going to school, right? You're a divine feminine energy. You're a divine masculine energy. And your teachers are not talking to you as if you are as such. They're saying that the divine masculine and the divine feminine are the same energies and they deserve the same teachings. But then the certain key areas of life where we need to express masculinity, we're left behind, right? And this is for masculines and feminines. So think about people who went to all boys schools and all girls schools, right? People who understood the arts of femininity, people who understood the arts of masculinity, for which they could thrive in their best version of themselves, for which that Kundalini or that law of attraction is happening naturally because everything happens at a hormonal level. So when you look at hormones, you're also looking at Mercury. You're looking at the secret substance that operates within us that manifests and magnifies and helps us. Let's look at Mercury at an etymological sense, right? Mercury is where you get the words market, right? Merchant, mercantilism, right? We're talking about prosperity. We're talking about manifestation. But we're also talking about the how to, right? How, right? We all want to manifest, but then the reality is, how do we manifest? You manifest by understanding the path. Like, people get on this internet all day and hit you with Kether and Malkuth and Yesod and Nesach and Chesed. And what for what, though? Why? Why? The same way as if you've never been taught the alphabet and the niggas is just dropping hot words on you, hypothesis and parentheses and hypotenuse. You never heard ABC. As much as people tell you these words, as much as people get online and tell you these buzzwords, if you don't understand the intricacies of Kabbalah, the intricacies of Hebrew, you just listening to them because you think that these niggas be obese. You think that you look like you a chubby chaser. That's crazy to be a male chubby chaser because he's speaking spiritual nonsense. Because we all can read the book. We all can read the book to regurgitate the words. Never knew that y'all was chubby chasers out here. Never, ever, ever knew. Okay. So in understanding it and taking the time, right, with each card, with each word, reading for all of these years, and I've actually was mentored by somebody who was reading cards for the past 20 years. When I met him, that was 10 years ago. So he'd been reading for 30 years, right? And I just started reading, and he's like, well, I'm like, man, I want to learn how to read. He's like, well, I've been reading for 20 years and I'm still learning. I said, okay, how do I want to learn. I want to be a fucking, this nigga look like a nigga from Lord of the Rings mixed with Harry Potter. Fat dude, big long beard, cloak type dude, wearing dude. Met him at a tarot meetup and whatever. I was like, I want to be like you type shit. He like, well, I've been doing this shit for 20 years. I've been doing it for 20 years. And I'm just like, okay, I get it. I got it instantly. I'm just going to do this. And so I just looked at one card. I studied one card every single day. And even then, you don't get all of the information, right? You don't get all the information. That's why he had been studying for 20 years and will continue to study, because the energy is infinite. When you look at the magician, on top of his head is an infinity symbol. So when you ever wake up into this world and you just like, man, I'm the king shit, I done figured it all out, you cap. That's like counting all of the stars on the universe. That's like counting all of the grains of sand on the beach. You don't got enough time to learn everything. You just got to get into a space where you are intentional and reflective within understanding your DNA. So the pathworking process that we're laying out is the process from Kether to the magician. And these energies work together because the fool, right, represents the womb. The magician represents the sperm, the coding. So it's like to manifest a child. You know how some people be like, man, I want a child. I want her to be, a football player. I want her to be a ballerina, right? How does that manifest a child? How are you going to do that by just sitting back talking about the type of child you wish for? At a certain point, you're going to have to get down and dirty, right? You're going to have to inseminate the womb. Like, you're going to have to do it. You're going to know how to do it. And even that part is just the first level. Now you got a child. Now, you said you wanted a girl, right? You wanted a girl, but you ended up having a boy. Are you going to put your boy in beauty pageants? No, you're going to try it again. Now you're going to be asking people, if my stomach is hanging low, then that means I'm having a girl, right? Or is it high? I don't know. I'd be kind of confused. Right? But there is a science to manifesting a girl. You may not know it. There is a science to manifesting a boy. You may not know it, because there's people who manifest girls. There are people who manifest boys. You could choose the certain type of man or woman that's gonna create the child that you want. Right? If you was that bold, if you was that cold, if you was that serious about manifestation, a certain type of child you want, you would be like, sometimes, Like, oh, he was cute. He was at a bar, he was saying, I look good in my leggings because it had the little dust in the center of it, the little lint balls, little hole. He was like, he came in my ear, he was like, girl, I could smell you. And I was like, what you mean? He's like, yeah, I seen them hoes when you was twerking on the dance floor. So eviscerating out of them leggings. I need to get with you. And so you gave him some pussy and now you got a kid. That's not intentional. That's not intentional path working. That's random path working for which you're going to lead into the energy of Malkuth one way or another. But it's one thing to be intentional. It's one thing to be unconscious. It's one thing to really encoding and picking up and tapping into your DNA. And it's a whole nother thing to just be out here randomly, giving it up to dudes who telling you that your leggings look nice. That don't even make sense. So as I stated earlier, it's very important to know your ABCs, right? It's very important to know your ABCs, and it's very important to know your Hebrew alphabet, especially if you're trying to understand spirituality. Because even the words that you're using, the ways for which you create images in your mind based upon the words that are being said, the foundation of all phonetics come from this right here, right? Even when, weirdos hop online and soon as something happened that is tragic, they doing the gematria. This is the root of that. Each letter is related to a numerical value. Each numerical value is related to a character. Each character is related to a symbol, right? And these symbols represent the human body, or the ways for which we integrate the spiritual principles within our human body. And I know that this might seem a little bit overwhelming, but the idea of learning Hebrew is like your soul's alphabet. So in order for you as a human, you need to learn your ABCs, right? In order for your soul to actually develop in its true sense, it needs to study the Hebrew phonetic letters. Now, one's in the chat if that makes sense. Comment if you're watching this video post live, if that makes sense to you as to why we are painstakingly taking our time with going over these Hebrew letters so we can get a deeper understanding, not for our conscious mind, but for our spiritual development. One's in the chat if that makes sense to you. Because that's a hard thing to wrap your mind around. And I just want to know if I'm able to, elucidate for you. Because even outside of this video, you can study Hebrew letters by yourself. And consciously, you're going to be like, what the fuck am I reading, right? But it's a certain thing that's going to happen in your life. It's a certain thing that's going to happen in your finances. There's a certain thing that's going to happen in your relationships. There's a certain thing that's going to happen in your business, right? Because your soul is learning how to spell, how to become the magician. And because you have all of this ancient knowledge within yourself, when we're talking about pathworking and tarot, we're also talking about keys. What do keys do? They unlock. So the wealth is within you. The love is within you. The business is within you. Everything is within you, but you haven't yet unlocked it because the specific language or coding isn't being taught or elucidated to you, because one thing is for certain, two things for sure, it takes time. This is not easy, right? It's not easy to learn a new language, especially as adults, right? We should have been taught this as children. Oh, we were. Okay, even deeper. Let's let's expand this. Let's expand this as a collective. What is the first thing you learn when you go to school? Kindergarten. What is the first thing you learn? What is the first thing you learn when you go to school? Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. What did y'all learn? Y'all went to new school. I don't know. Y'all was learning calculus. First thing y'all was learning in school. Okay. First thing I've ever learned when I went to school was the ABCs. It was the first thing they taught me when they went to school. ABCs. Once we learned our ABCs, they taught us how to count to 100. Right? How can you spell your name if you don't know the alphabet, right? Right? First thing I learned was how to spell, but I was in school and my first year of school was 1989, so maybe that's ancient history. But let's continue. All right. So the letter that we're talking about, if you wanted to get into the science of Aleph, that would be in the full video. But today we'll be talking about the magician and we'll be talking about Beth, right? Beth, the second Hebrew letter is Beth. Its ancient character is depicted as a house. Okay? A house could be a tent, a tomb, or a palace. It's really deep. This noun could also denote a household, sons and daughters, and or its wealth, or a location that is within the inner part of something. Okay? So the spiritual of Beth, the spiritual of B, the spiritual of two is a house or a tent or a tomb or a palace. And you got to start to think, well, what does this house represent for me? That's when everything makes sense. Because when we talk about metaphysics specifically, we're talking about beyond the physical. So beyond the physical relates everything back to you. And so when you're studying it, you're studying the science or the metaphysics of you. So in order to understand Aleph, you got to understand Beth, because humanity represents this principle. Because without one, you don't have the other. You don't have spirit without the body, nor does you have the body without spirit. The same way you don't have sperm without the body. The same way as you don't have probability without the body, or intention without the body, or magic without the body, because sex, intention, magic, ritual, hormones, Kundalini, ancestors, soul, development is all a sexual process. And the vessel that carries it out is the body. So when you're talking about the location of something within, it's very simple. Beth and Aleph, or Alpha Bet, or Aleph Bet, is the combination. So to verbalize a word or a letter, you have to use what? A mouth. And when you look at the Hebrew letter Beth, it also looks like a mouth. A mouth is connected to a body. But these things within themselves are nothing if there is no soul attached to it. And even though the words sound the same, even though the looks look the same, I wear a ankh, she wear a ankh, I say hotep, she say hotep. It's a very slick, clear difference of connecting to your soul or not. The inner part of something. So once again, we are connecting the dots and we are educating ourselves on the basics of the spiritual alphabet to assist us in soul development. So the second letter, or the letter B, or the letter V, or the number 2 relates to Mercury. But it also, so once again, how does this all relate to one another? Because think about the double. Think about the doppelganger. They say everyone has a double, everyone has a doppelganger, everyone has a spiritual self. Everyone has DNA coding for which they can look to the outside world as a magician. The issue is we're too busy following other people, being jealous of other people, and if you say you're not, you capped out. Comparing ourselves to other people, or too wound up in ourselves that we're not serving the community, because that's how you get into your market, right? That's how you get into your mercantilism, because you are serving the community and you're helping people. And for some of us, we can just stop there, right? If you are helping people and you are showing up for the community, then you need to get into the science of expanding and getting into the further developments of manifestation, which we'll be talking about later. So let's get into some mythology in the science of Mercury and the science of the magician, because when you're talking about these things, right, Prometheus and Mercury, and they're personifying energies, what are they specifically personifying? Well, they're specifically personifying the planet Mercury. The reason why Prometheus is next to Mercury is because we're talking about Mercury retrograde and Mercury direct. Mercury retrograde is the personification of Mercury. Prometheus is the personification of Mercury going direct. In Greek mythology, Prometheus, the son of a Titan, stole fire from the gods for the benefit of mankind. So once again, when you look at the planet Earth, from our perspective, from our vantage point, and I don't know this to be true because I've never been on any other planet, but if I'm going to trust modern science and modern astronomy, we are the only planet that can sustain life. And part of that reason is because the planets Venus and the planets Mercury absorb a lot of the sun's energy. But the difference between Mercury and Venus is that Mercury actually cools down the sun so much so that it allows Earth to flourish. And this is a process that happens, right? And it allows the Earth to sustain life. So going further, Prometheus, or Mercury direct, was punished by Jupiter by being chained to a rock where an eagle fed daily on his liver that perpetually renewed. He was later set free by Hercules. Hercules is another constellation. Google it. According to legend, it was either Vulcan or Mercury that bound Prometheus. And it is here. So if Mercury is binding Prometheus because they're one and the same, Mercury represents the messenger of the gods. So when you're talking about the sustainer of life or contributor to a sustainer of life, because if you have just the sun blasting heat on the planet without no intercessor, without no messenger, then it's just a fire. It's just not, it's going to be like the rest of the planets, either too hot or too cold. This is consciousness as well. This is also purpose. Because you are here today, and there's a reason for you being here today. And you can continue to look at it externally, or you can continue to look at what I'm saying internally. Because what does Mercury represent? He has a winged helmet. He has sandals on, and he has a caduceus, or a magic wand, and he has two snakes, which lie at the base or lie at his foot. It's all talking about Kundalini and activating your Kundalini, which you become the intermediary between the gods or higher consciousness, and becoming and tapping into the energy of the magician. But how do you get there? Like, what is the way of activating your Kundalini? Mercury represents caduceus, right? This caduceus also represents your chakras and Kundalini energy rising up your chakras. The ways for which you activate your chakras is the words that you choose. So the optimism of connecting to your soul creates the words that you use. We're going to make it. I'm going to figure out a solution. How can I please you today? How can I make your life easier? So with these words that you're choosing and these dispositions that you are feeling, you're more able to show up in the marketplace. You're not going to show up to the marketplace beating yourself up, right? And it don't matter what anybody say to you. It's very important what you say to yourself, because we're not even talking about the words that you say to others. We're talking about the words that you do not need to say to yourself, because you don't even know who you are. We're talking about the words that your soul tells you when you listen to it. Now, reread this with that context. In the beginning was the Word. It's not the words that you're just randomly spouting out. It's not your hopes, dreams, and wishes. Those aren't the word. That's not the beginning of the word. The beginning of the word is you understanding what your soul is saying to you. That's why it continues, and the word was with God. It continues further, and the word was God. So if the word was God, it's not the shit that I'm saying. It's the shit that your soul is saying to you when you listen to it. And only, not when you just listen to it, is when you listen to it, act on it, and become that over time, for which you can say, it was because my soul has led me, for which I've manifested what I've manifested. So once again, we're talking about the beginnings of manifestation, the inception of manifestation, and where it specifically comes from. And the later conversations will be have on how to manifest it, how to balance it, how to deal with it, you know, the ups and downs, the lefts and rights, the ins and outs. But in this particular understanding of the self-realization of who you are as a spiritual being, it's all about the beginning. So the fool represents a new beginning. The magician represents that realization of where to find where you need to get in life. Like, where do you need to find it? You find it within yourself. And you listen to what is being said in the beginning. It's not talking about a point in time more than it's talking about a specific location, right? Bear shift or Beth is a location in the beginning, in your DNA. Okay, very important, because anybody who is reading the Bible is a human being having is a spiritual being having a human experience. So it's only for people that are attempting to self-develop. And the reality of spiritual development, the reality of self-development is that you're not never really done with it. And if you don't have a heart to say, it might take me 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however many years to master my psychic and spiritual development, then you're not going to be on the righteous path. You're going to be on a crash out path, right? Of people that's trying to scam you in the easiest way, quickest way to self-realization. And I'm telling you, it don't really work like that. And you really shouldn't. And it's like the same way as if, it's like, well, I don't want a baby to be born after 9 months. I want my baby to be born after 4 months. And then you have a premature baby. Nobody wants a premature baby. So why would you want a premature manifestation? You got to actually be patient and know exactly where it comes from. It specifically comes from within yourself. And it specifically takes time for you to listen. So limiting the distractions, allowing yourself to focus, allowing yourself to listen to yourself so deeply that you begin to act differently. You make better decisions, wiser decisions, because okay, I'm working too hard. Okay, I'm not working enough. And you're really listening, you're really acting, you're really in tune with yourself. A lot of people call that crazy, but that's for you to judge. So when you're talking about the magician, you're talking about Mercury, right? You're also talking about Hermes. You're also talking about Thoth. But the original is Tehuti. And I'm showing you this just to make a connection between this slide and this slide. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Let's talk about this connection. Tehuti, the scribe of the gods, or the messenger of the gods, right? The deity that represents wisdom and knowledge. So this is very important when you talk about spiritual development, because we don't experience wisdom and knowledge as human beings. We only experience what another person have told us. Wisdom and knowledge comes from the soul, which is your personal direction to make your personal decisions for which you look back and be like, damn, I'm proud of the decisions that I'm making, right? It's represented as an ibis or a baboon. Tehuti is connected to the moon, wisdom, scribes, and sciences. At judgment time, he would write down the weighing of the soul. Tehuti symbolizes word power. So the shit that you're saying, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I'm afraid. I'm afraid this time. This time I'm afraid. This time I don't think I'm strong enough. I don't think I'm cute enough. I don't know. I don't wish. Right? That is word lack of power. The things for which you say, the ways you truly identify yourself, the ways for which you truly know yourself at a spiritual level, at a DNA level, and then the words that come from that, you cannot script this shit. You cannot make it up. You cannot buy it. You literally have to take the time, effort, and energy to get to your original state of consciousness. And it's not easy in this world. And it gets harder and harder every day. Every new stiff hip dance, every new TikTok sensation, every new viral reality TV star of a girlfriend beating a boyfriend up or whatever the case may be, to which we'll say some shit like black people ain't gonna never this, that, and the third, and man, we ain't gonna never, and the white man is this and that, and the word lack of power. To certain ways of learning and dealing with the soul. And, the reality of this shit is that, you need to buy more books. You need to read books at like you scrolling on social media, right? And then you need to take notes and apply those notes. It's a certain level of life for which learning, developing wordplay, developing application, and once you are experienced in for which the things that you say, like you walk it like you talk it, or you talk it like you walk it, however you say that, these things are the same thing. then that's intellect and wisdom. And it can be tested over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because you can understand. And as spiritual beings, you know, just watching these videos, tapping in with me, you know, reading the books, whatever the case may be, and you just so happen to get into a spiritual situation where you have to read or you have a dream or these things start to happen, you know how to handle it. And it's gonna, I promise y'all, if y'all rock with me throughout this whole process, you're just gonna be, your soul is gonna just be naturally just picking up on shit. It's just gonna naturally lead you and direct you. Because you did not pay nobody $59.99 for a course so they could teach you how to manifest yourself. You led yourself as a sperm, right? That sperm was specifically selected by that egg cell. And that manifestation process, that incubation process, was an autonomous process that was found within your DNA coding. So the magician is a reflective process, but it's also an initiative process because you can always reflect on the fact that you are a human being existing today. That tells you that there is something else working besides your idiosyncrasies and your mental thoughts and your emotional intelligence and your emotional capabilities, right? Your boyfriend tell you he attracted to another woman, you want to fight him, right? That ain't the way that you handle that. How you want to fight this man because he telling you the truth? He telling you the truth. He attracted to somebody else. You want to fight him? And then get mad when he cheat on you. It's a level of learning that these things, like, if you can be untriggerable, you can be at a certain state of mind where your girlfriend comes to you like, hey honey, what you do today? Just came back from a gangbang. How many? It was, yeah, I did a record today. I did 25. Was it fun? It was amazing. I loved it. Oh, I'm happy you enjoyed it, babe. I'm about to go meet my sneaky link. Okay, have fun. Tell her I said, oh, hold on, babe, hold on. I baked her some cookies. Give her these cookies. Tell Charmaine I said hi. Y'all have fun. There's people that live like that. And I'm not saying that that's how you're supposed to live. I'm saying that your triggers ain't really triggers when you are taking yourself out of your divine mind. When you feel like you mad at your boyfriend or your husband because they did something wrong to you, you are out of your divine mind. When you mad at your wife because you found out she DMing some dude with some muscles on IG and you kind of fat and flabby, and you mad because she like muscular men, you out of your divine mind. Can't be mad at what another person like. You can't be, because that person's still going to like it even if you mad. Your husband's still going to cheat on you even if you mad about it. Your girlfriend's still going to want to crave gangbangs even if you mad about it. Your anger, your emotional disposition is not going to disrupt or move the truth. It's just moving you away from your divine mind. It's taking you away from your high priestess. It's taking you away from your magician. Because it's like, hold on, let me put this soul shit away because, you know, I got to be mad at this nigga. I got to be mad at my baby mama because I text her. I text her at 6 o'clock. I text her at 6 p.m. She texts me back the next day. I'm like, babe, why you ain't text? What's happened? She said I was asleep. How you go to sleep at 6 o'clock? Don't nobody ever just go to sleep at 6 o'clock. That don't even make sense. And you just cut your phone off at 6 o'clock and you know you got kids? That don't even make sense. You just did not answer the phone either. I blew you up. You just ain't answer. You asleep? Wow. People gonna do what they gonna do, man. People gonna say what they gonna say. People gonna live how they gonna live. And me, on the other hand, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. So, yes, I'm happy I got this video out the way. So now I can start working on the high priestess. As I stated earlier, the link is in the description if you want to read this full transcript. But to read these full transcripts will be $5 a month on my Substack. And if you want to wait until I put out the book, once I do all of the videos, put all of the transcripts, get it proofread, put it back together, and just kind of do like a spiritual being having a human experience addendum appendix where we just deep dive and deal with each and every card. I'm gonna either do like a deluxe edition or just sell this book by itself, or do a combination of both, because I can do that. Shout out to Lil Flip, shout out to you, shout out to your baby mama, shout out to your baby daddy, shout out to your soul. If this video has been helpful to you, go ahead and like the video, comment something, a question that came up as you was listening, and I would love to answer it in the comments. If you're watching this post live, share the video to your family, friends, your sneaky links. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It's the Hood Mystic. Utilize the links in my description to support this channel. Tomorrow we will be doing live readings. I would say I promise, but can't do that. Got 4 kids. So with that being said, hope y'all enjoyed this one, and happy I got it done with and over with. And we're going to get through each and every one of these tarot cards. We're going to deal with each and every one of these Hebrew letters. And we're going to do it slowly and over time, so the information can sink in, so it can digest. And if don't nobody tap into the information, if it don't resonate with nobody, at least I'm learning a little bit. At least I'm further in my studies when it comes to this tarot shit. So with that being said, man, it's the Hood Mystic, and I'm signing out, man. Peace to you. Peace to your kids. Peace to your baby daddy. Peace.
Don't believe the box that they put you in. But life is so short that you can't waste even a day subscribing to what someone thinks you can do versus knowing what you can do. And that's like the switch. It's like the switch in your head. If you can get to a place where you can act on that in the next hour after we're done speaking, I guarantee you it's a domino.
If Jesus was on the cross, you would probably nail him. If he wept holy water, you would probably sell it. If he confided sacred teachings, you would probably tell it. Bunch of bullshit is I ain't mad, but I just smell it. Went well to the max, so unfortunate. Body well toned, looking like porcelain. She chose up, I ain't forced her hand. When we slide, it's like Santa Claus again. Paid the cost to be the boss and the cost to jam. Opportunity was lost, but I caught him again. It's a spiritual war and I'm fighting to win. Nah, like to pretend I speak on pretense. Lying be friend. I came to preach the truth to the youth, I'm tying it in. If you ride and get in, we sliding again. Man, we sliding again. Man, we sliding again. Man, we sliding again. We used to roll around with nowhere to go, like, hey man, where's the hoes? But now it ain't a drill no more. We can't grow, depending on our youth, and we still undeveloped. Walk around blind, nobody tell us. This was on the cross, you would probably nail him. If he wept holy water, you would probably sell it. If he confided sacred teachers, you would probably tell it. Bunch of bullshit is I ain't mad, but I just smell it. Instead of getting even, man, I'm compelling. And we slide again. And we slide